You're waiting for permission, and you don't even realize it. You think you're being strategic. You think you're being smart. You think you're waiting for the right time, the right resources, the right level of readiness. But that's not what you're doing. You're waiting for someone to tell you it's okay, and nobody is going to tell you that, because nobody gives a fuck whether you succeed or not. Let me show you what this looks like. You have a business idea, a good one. You've had it for months, maybe years, and you're not executing it. Why? Because you're waiting to have more money, waiting to have more experience, waiting to know more, waiting for someone who has already done it to validate that your idea is good. You're waiting for permission from the market, from investors, from people who are already successful to tell you that you're ready. And while you're waiting, someone else with the same idea and less talent launched 6 months ago. They're failing, they're learning, they're iterating, they're getting real feedback from real customers. And in another 6 months, they'll have figured out what works while you're still researching, still planning, still waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to start. That's what permission seeking costs you. Not just time, opportunity. The opportunity to fail early, learn fast, and iterate towards success before someone else does. You think you're being careful. You're being cowardly. And cowardice doesn't get rewarded with permission. It gets punished with irrelevance. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this in a way that most men never will. He was exiled from Florence, removed from power, his entire political career gone. He had no official position, no authority, no platform. Nobody in Florence gave a shit what he thought. And he could have spent his exile waiting to be invited back, waiting for someone in power to ask for his counsel, waiting for permission to be relevant again. But he didn't wait. He wrote. He wrote The Prince, not because anyone asked him to, not because he had permission. He wrote it because he had something to say, and he decided that his exile from official power didn't strip him of the intellectual authority he had earned through years of observation and experience. He gave himself permission, and from that self-granted permission came a work that has shaped the thinking of every person in power for 500 years. While the men who had all the official titles, all the official authority, all the permission in the world, forgotten completely. History doesn't remember the men who waited for permission. It remembers the men who claimed authority through the quality of what they produced. And you're still waiting for your boss to notice you, waiting for that promotion, waiting for someone to give you the opportunity you think you deserve, and they're not going to give it to you. Not because you don't deserve it, but because people don't give permission to people who need permission. They give opportunities to people who have already claimed authority through action. Here's how this programming got into you. You were a kid, and you had natural confidence. You created things, you built things, you expressed yourself without filtering through anyone else's judgment. And the adults around you who had already been broken by the system told you to wait your turn. Ask permission. Don't be arrogant. Stay humble. Know your place. Don't stand out. Don't be too confident. And slowly, over years, you learned that confidence without permission is dangerous. That action without approval is wrong. That claiming authority before it's granted to you is arrogance. And now you're an adult, and you're paralyzed. Paralyzed by the need for external validation before you act. You don't trust your own judgment. You don't trust your own capability. You look to others to tell you whether what you're doing is good enough, smart enough, ready enough. And as long as you need their approval, you will never have your own power. Let me tell you what happens when you stop waiting. when you just start, when you launch the business before you're ready, when you publish the work before it's perfect, when you take the opportunity without waiting for someone to offer it, you fail, probably. At first, almost certainly, but failure without permission is still better than perfect paralysis waiting for approval, because failure gives you information, real information, from the market, from reality, not from people whose opinion you're seeking. And with that information, you iterate, you adjust, you improve. And within months, you're ahead of everyone who is still in the planning phase, still seeking validation, still waiting for permission that's never coming. Here's the brutal economic truth. The market doesn't care about your credentials. It doesn't care about your titles. It doesn't care whether you had permission to start. It cares whether you can solve a problem, whether you can create value, whether you can deliver. And you don't need anyone's permission to do those things. You just need to do them, and let the results be your authority. The men who are winning right now, the ones you're looking at thinking they're lucky or connected or talented, they're not. They're just not waiting for permission. They saw an opportunity, and they took it. They had an idea, and they executed it. They wanted authority, and they claimed it through the quality of their work. And now everyone who told them to wait, to get more experience, to be more humble, is asking them for opportunities. That's how this works. Permission is for people who don't have power. People who have power don't ask for it. They claim it. And the claim is made through action, not through seeking approval for the action. So what do? You stop asking. Today, right now, you identify the thing you've been waiting for permission to do, the business you haven't started, the skill you haven't begun learning, the conversation you haven't had, the risk you haven't taken, the thing you know you should be doing, but you're waiting for someone to validate that you should. And you do it, without asking, without announcing, without seeking feedback on whether it's a good idea. You just start, and you let the results speak. If it works, you were right. If it doesn't, you learn and adjust. Either way, you're moving. And movement without permission is infinitely more valuable than perfect planning with approval. Machiavelli didn't ask Florence if he could write about power. He wrote, and Florence, which exiled him, now claims him as their greatest political thinker. That's what happens when you stop seeking permission and start producing results. The same people who denied you permission will later claim they always believed in you. Here's what you need to understand about authority. Real authority doesn't come from titles. It doesn't come from positions. It doesn't come from degrees. It comes from knowing what the fuck you're talking about. And you gain that knowledge through action, through failure, through iteration, not through waiting for someone to tell you you're ready. So when you walk into a room full of people with more credentials than you, more experience than you, more official authority than you don't shrink. You don't wait for permission to speak. You speak. If you know something they don't, you say it. If you have a perspective that's valuable, you share it. And you let the quality of what you say establish your authority, not your resume, not your title, your insight. And some people will be offended. Good. People who are comfortable with permission-based hierarchies hate when someone claims authority outside the system, because it exposes that the system was never about competence, it was about control. And you're refusing to be controlled. Will you fail? Sometimes. Absolutely. Will you be wrong sometimes? Obviously. Will some people reject you? Guaranteed. And none of that matters. Because the alternative is spending your entire life waiting for a permission slip that doesn't exist, from people who don't care, for a life you'll never live. The men who changed the world didn't ask for permission. They built things the world said weren't possible. They claimed authority the world said they hadn't earned. They acted without approval and let the results justify the action. And that's the only path that actually leads anywhere. Your grandfather didn't ask for permission to build his life. He saw what needed to be done, and he did it. He didn't wait for ideal conditions. He didn't seek validation from people more successful than him. He moved, and he built something, and you're benefiting from his refusal to wait right now. And what are you doing? Waiting, researching, planning, seeking feedback, asking for signs, looking for validation, making sure everyone is comfortable with your ambition before you pursue it. And all of that is just fear wearing the costume of prudence. Stop asking. Stop waiting. Stop seeking. Start claiming. Start building. Start moving. Permission is for people who don't believe in themselves enough to act without it. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. Machiavelli believed in his understanding of power, even when everyone in power dismissed him. And his belief, backed by work, proved correct. Your belief in your capability, backed by action, will do the same, or it won't. And you'll learn something, and try again. Either way, you're not stuck waiting for approval that was never coming. The permission you're waiting for is your own. Give it to yourself, today, right now. And start. Subscribe to Savage Philosophy, for men who stopped asking and started taking.